I think we're live, boys and girls. It is the weather report. Anyway, I just wanted to say before we get started that I am going to try to be a meaner, more horrible moderator. And when people start talking over each other, I'm going to stick you in the backstage. And it's not like I'm doing it because I don't like you or because I'm being an asshole or anything like that. But if you guys get into these, things where you overtalk each other, and I don't want anybody to be offended by it because I care about all of you, but we got to stop this fucking over talking everybody, and getting into shitstorms. And we also have to have some consideration when somebody starts talking about something. Sometimes somebody will go on for 10 minutes. I call it pulling a Neffy. No pulling the Neffy. I may have to yank your chain if you pull a Neffy, which is, like you make your point and then you make your point over and over again. So like if I were to say, I'm going to start being a tougher moderator, and I said it to you in 50 fucking different ways for 10 fucking minutes, well, it's time to put me in a back room. So anyway, if I just want to say that. And here's Danny. Not that I was talking about anybody in particular, but
Danny just showed up. Yeah, but hey, can I just add to that? The other side of the coin is you said somebody went out for 10 minutes or so. Then there's, like where you can't even get 15 seconds out of your mouth before somebody's, jumping over you. And like, I just want to say, you may be able to finish your significant other's sentences for them, but none of us need you to finish our sentences for us. Okay.
I apologize, John.
I'm not talking about you.
We're not talking about you.
Kidding.
Talking about, but
not everything's about you, Midnight.
I know, but actually, no, it is because I'm special. I mean, especially. Never mind. Let's not go there.
From now on, when I'm speaking to everybody and I'm trying to make a point about you, I'll say the word albino first.
Fine, I appreciate that.
All right.
Anyway, so two things happened last night. Standing for Truth put out like two more little blurbs in the middle of the night where he's got his little suit coat on and he's preaching, and they were on genetic entropy and one other thing. And he puts out these 4-minute things and he doesn't say anything other than that evolutionists are wrong, or there's one that's probably worth going over where he talks about how we made up the African bottleneck to fit our idea to the data, which I would like to comment on. We can get to that later. And then
who said that?
What's that?
Who said that?
Standing always says that. He says, okay, the African bottleneck is basically when ape humans came out of Africa and it invaded Europe in a couple of different waves. He's claiming that we made that up to fit the genetic data and that it's a new thing. Well, the out of Africa theory is not a new thing. Anybody with a brain knows that if we did migrate out of Africa, we did so in small tribes, and that there was a genetic bottleneck. There had to be, and that is what we find in the genetic evidence, which confirms the idea. But when you think about it, what the fuck is the alternative? Did he think that like 1 million ape humans got on a bus or a plane and flew into Europe all at once and landed there? I mean, we came in very small groups. That's how humans traveled.
And had to walk.
And we had to walk, yeah. And we had to I don't know, I think we may have had to get across a little bit of water and
had to walk and had to brave all kinds of man-killing animals and shit like that. And so their numbers probably were, shrunk before they got to where they were going and all that shit.
Yeah. Don't forget, don't forget dealing with, don't forget dealing with people of our own tribes who want to kill us.
Yeah.
Fucking dangers. By the way, is that Danny's new avatar? Because you have a comment in a way, so I can't say names.
Oh, he had an older one. Let me get rid
of it.
I
don't understand why fucking why StreamYard does that. You share a comment.
Oh yeah.
His name goes.
I know. Yeah, baby. Let me check. Yeah, what the hell? What is the sense in that? That doesn't make any sense at all.
Doesn't make any sense to me either.
StreamYard's a piece of crap. Hi, Danny.
Hi, Danny. And the other thing is too about that out in Africa, because we've talked about this subject before about how, the lily white depictions of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Now Jesus Christ certainly wasn't purported to have come out of Africa, but the part of the world that he purportedly did come out of, he wouldn't have been lily white. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, according to Raw Matt, the black gene mixed with the white gene makes the brown gene, or some stupid thing like that he's got. Ignoring the fact that if that were the case, then in the Middle East, 25% of people would be white, 25% black, and 50% would be brown, if his theory was correct, because that's the way fucking genetics works. I don't know. Creationist misconceptions must be exterminated, Andrew. So, Dax here. Okay. So, a lot of people, everybody has got to behave, and everybody's got a limit how long they talk about one particular thing. You're echoing again, Dax.
Hello.
A lot of people. Okay, I'm going to mute you until you get your echo figured out. And then unmute yourself when you got to figure it out. But so Nephilim had a stream last night. And of course, Praise had his usual. I don't know what the hell he was talking about last night. That's about all that happened in the community. Erica did a really nice show with Dr. Josh. And that was at the same time we were going over a paper. So that's all I got. Anybody else? But, we could play some clips from NAF or whatever, or get into whatever you guys want to get into.
Well, I wanted to say something real quick that, we're still getting some kind of blowback. I don't know.
I'm not.
Probably from Dan.
No, Danny's muted.
No, I was only for just like a quick second there. But first of all, I wanted to comment that on the weather report, I don't think we've ever talked about weather before. But anyway, I noticed today on a few videos I caught on YouTube, and mostly just seeing the titles of them, and a few little news articles I saw the title of, that that the Republicans are trying to hold up the stimulus. Did anybody else hear about that?
No, of course they are.
Yeah, but
That's what Republicans do.
Yeah, today my
Exactly.
mom.
Of course they are.
Yeah, today my mom said that be on the lookout for a credit card because apparently they're giving money on I don't know. That's just fucking weird shit going on.
That'd be good.
But I want my money. Come on, Republicans, I want my money. Or Democrats? I forget who's in office right now.
Yeah. Yep.
So,
Yeah, I just.
John,
Oh, go ahead.
did you want to see what the real life picture of Jesus that scientists have put together?
Oh, yeah. I do want to see that.
Ooh. Dude, I wouldn't listen to that, dude.
It's in my picture or a video.
Now, I wonder what do you think Christians have to say about that?
In the South Christians. The South Christians. Their particular brand. Oh God, maybe we should play
reminiscent of a poll I've got on Twitter right now, asking theists if they would recognize their God in a room full of imposters with their God amongst them, holding conversations. Most of them are saying no.
Let me see if.
That dude seems to have more character than most of the pictures of Jesus I've ever seen. More character in his face.
Yeah, he does.
I think it's based on the Shroud of Turin or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he does.
I think it's based on the Shroud of Turin.
We got the broadcast coming through.
I think it's based on the Shroud of Turin.
Who the hell?
We got the broadcast coming through.
Who?
Start muting people. There's only.
Might be me.
It might.
I should try this thing without my headphones sometime
No,
and see
Jack,
if it does that, because I still don't even know. It's
definitely you, Speed.
It's not me. I was just saying I should probably unplug my headset sometime and find out whether or not it does that if I do, because I don't even know. But I got them plugged in right now, so
Yeah, Speed's trying to figure it out. This is FOP with Speed. We've gone through this before. You're muted, Speed. You're muted. You're muted.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I don't know. Not sure.
Doesn't seem to be happening now, though.
No, it quit. I don't know what it was.
Did you just give it a good wrap?
I just give it a good wrap. Well, everybody muted and unmuted and it went away. I don't know. StreamYard glitch. Another one.
Oh, what happened with me earlier is I didn't realize I was going to get in that quickly. I had the browser running on my computer, so I had to mute that real quick.
I do that as well all of the time.
Because I didn't want to miss stuff while I was waiting to get in, you know?
Yeah. Wouldn't want to miss anything.
So are we going to watch Nappy?
Oh, how quickly I forget what I'm doing. Who are you people again?
Oh, and I wanted to say that on Praise's stream, we're doing a book study on the soul. So if y'all are interested, you should come on Mondays. It's only going to be an hour.
It's a stream about fiction?
You can think of it that way.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's Praise.
Praise I am that I am.
So you're doing like a Bible study on the soul?
Yeah, that.
No, like
no, that doesn't ring a bell either. But
there is a section where like there's like the theological concerns, but it's going to be like a more philosophical approach to like what the soul might be or how it's cashed out. I mean, I don't accept such a thing, but I'm academically interested in views that I don't hold. So.
So what am I on here?
Maybe you could do a companion series and talk about unicorns and shit too.
That's less interesting. I don't think philosophically speaking, it's interesting to talk about unicorns.
No,
not really. Talking about unicorns is actually fun.
I was just making a joke.
I know.
The soul was like originally like breath, right? Like breathing, like spirit. I don't know.
Well, an interesting thing about unicorns is that unicorns actually existed, but they weren't anything like most people picture them.
They were ugly.
They were probably narwhals.
They still exist, don't they? The rhinoceros is a unicorn.
I'm not sure if the one-horned ones still exist. There were one-horned ones and two-horned ones, and I forget which one of them went extinct. But yeah, it's a type of rhinoceros is all. And so yeah, it's a real thing. But the mythology of what a unicorn is, it's a different thing. So if you conflate the two, and you see a picture of a horse with a horn on it, and you say, oh yeah, those really exist. It's scientifically documented and stuff. Well, then you're conflating.
Wait, then you were equivocating. When I was like, when we were talking about unicorns.
I'm just saying by name, unicorns do exist.
Yeah, you're just equivocating.
Oh my god!
No, I'm not equivocating. Not at all.
I had something different by.
I had nightmares.
I'm not saying that what many people picture as a unicorn or what most people would think of when they hear the word unicorn exists. I'm saying something that actually does qualify as a unicorn by name, has been called by that name, quick. And
Hey Dak, real quick. I think what you're actually saying is that the idea of unicorns came out of actual animals that exist.
An actual animal that, yes.
Right, but they're not unicorns. Unicorns is the fictional horse with a fucking horn out of its head. So
actually, the reason why I say those are unicorns is because there are
John, you agree with me. He's equivocating.
There are translations. There are translations into the word unicorn from old texts that talk about them.
If you have a different
directly
concept,
from the term unicornus, which was unicornus was actually what they were called. So directly translating that into English, it's a cognate.
Yeah, so you're right. If we're talking about something different, a different concept, then it fits that concept. But we're not talking about that, right?
I got a question. I got a question about unicorns.
But my reason for bringing that up is because it's kind of like when people talk about did the Jesus of the Bible exist? Well, there's the mythological Jesus of the Bible, the one that's in all the stories, and then there's possibly a Jesus, one or more Jesuses that was based on. One of those is obviously mythology.
Can we get to the video?
Yeah. My question about unicorns: who gives a fuck?
There we go. Because we got into a tangent about that. Like John made a joke, and we went to like a fucking tangent about unicorns actually existing.
Okay.
What about
so,
Pegasus?
Well, like I said, I had a reason for bringing that up. So
okay.
I think
Nobody
Manny.
minds.
I think Manny's hitting on me again.
I mean,
he does that a lot.
yeah,
Does
he
it
is
hurt?
handsome.
He says, "At John Peterson, I'll bet you could touch a unicorn." Is that an offer, Manny? And is the unicorn that you're speaking of, is their horn in a different spot than their head?
Which
Jesus
head?
Christ.
Hmm.
Okay.
By the way,
moving on.
should I turn my video off? I notice I'm the only one with video on right now.
It's up to you.
Don't make a
I
difference.
just-
All right.
I mean,
I
if
just
you want
turned
to
it
see, if you want to see a sexy albino, I'll turn my camera on, but I usually keep it off.
Okay, I just wondered if maybe it's supposed to be off. So
No,
thought
it's
I'd
not
ask.
supposed to be, but I feel the same way as you do sometimes. If I'm like the only one with my camera, like I usually am
Okay.
on camera, but I got in the habit of always using my avatar when I come to Speed's channel because it seems like most everybody uses their avatar.
Mm.
So, Danny, there's some question about whether you're a theist.
I just answered it, I think. But
What'd you say?
I missed
I
the
think-
answer.
I think what I gave was something like omniscience and infallibility defeat the notion of agency.
That
So
doesn't
in that-
really finish.
Pretty
Yeah,
fucked
so
up answer.
if it's the idea that God is infallible and omniscient, that I think leads to a contradiction. So I don't support those notions of theism.
Okay, so
That
you
doesn't
might
really-
believe. Do you believe in any kind of God? I mean, do you believe there is a God of some kind, not necessarily, infallible or whatever?
Well, we just have to talk about what's meant by God in those
Jesus
cases.
Christ, immutable.
Okay. Well, let me rephrase the question. I'll, instead of just asking one or the do you or do you not? Would you place yourself closer to you believe there is such a thing, you believe there is not such a thing, or you don't know?
But I don't know
What do you think is
what concept you're using when you're referring to thing.
any general thing that people that generalized God concept?
I really wish Danny and Dak had showed up at the beginning of the stream.
Well, I'm just saying that I think omniscience and infallibility
Look,
don't
just
work.
say,
So
just say you're a Christian. You're a theist, but you have reservations about it. And let's move on.
A
no,
deist.
but
Well,
I don't know what
I'm
that. I don't really.
Okay,
I've
hold
had
Danny-
nightmares
Danny-
about Donald
Danny?
and Danny getting in the same stream together with me.
I'm definitely an atheist, and I do not know whether or not there is a God out there in the generalized sense. There might be, but I agree with you that there
What
is
is it
no
that you're
God of the
denying?
kind you described.
What is it that you're
Huh?
denying?
I'm not denying anything. Like I said, I don't know whether there is or
I
isn't.
share your pain, John.
Atheism isn't about atheism isn't about denying anything. It's about not
Let me explain
having
my
theism.
question. What I mean is that what is it that you don't hold a belief of?
I
Let
don't
me know if you
believe there
guys
is a
can
God.
hear
What is even this tension for
Like,
going?
as I just said, a belief that there is a God or a belief that there is no God. I don't hold either of those beliefs.
Yeah. What is it
I
that
don't
you're not
know.
holding?
I do believe that there is no God of the kind you describe being a problem, being problematic. Yeah, there is no God like that. Is there some God of some other kind, like maybe, I don't know, one of the lesser Greek gods or something like that? Maybe. I doubt it. I highly doubt
Think
it, but I
Zeus
don't actually
possibly?
know.
You think that like Zeus? You don't know that Zeus doesn't exist or something?
Yeah, I wouldn't even. I said one of the lesser Greek gods for the simple matter of fact that I think there's too many conflicts with Zeus as well.
So like the Avengers could
so-
exist or
but-
something?
Basically, I don't know that any non-impossible God doesn't exist.
Yeah, I like the
Any
Avengers
impossible God doesn't exist, and I agree with you about the kind you described being impossible.
movies. Have you seen Endgame? Like those are some pretty cool gods.
I think Danny's been hanging around with me.
I don't think so. I'm not sure. Not sure.
Like,
that
do
I
you
have it.
think Thor exists? He could possibly exist. You don't know if he doesn't exist.
John, I blame
Endgame,
you.
that's our current movie. No, I haven't seen it. Okay.
Oh, well, you'll learn a
Thor?
lot about the gods there. The gods
I
that
can't
you
think of anything
don't deny.
particularly impossible about Thor. So, I mean, but there again, like I said, if there's anything impossible about him, yeah, then they don't exist.
So you can't think of anything impossible about him? You mean you think someone can spin a hammer in their hand and fly?
Well, yeah, it seems very unlikely, but it could be technology. I mean, I can't rule it out entirely.
Hey, real quick, did you?
I'd say some of the descriptions of the hammer are a little too far, though. So the hammer doesn't exist, at least in the form described.
Hey, my hammer exists. Look, many responded to me when I was talking about is he hitting on me. He said, "At John Peterson, according to legend, only a virgin can touch a unicorn." That's what he meant.
Oh.
I could probably touch a unicorn.
Jesus.
Okay. So he clarified.
Yeah, he clarified. He sure did.
Okay. Can we watch Iron Man on the side?
So are you gonna be one of those people awarded to Muslims when they die?
Jesus Christ! What the fuck?
I'm one of the 72 virgins. Yeah.
Moving on.
Fish.
I couldn't resist.
What is this now?
I don't know. It's like Iron Man.
No, that's
This real life. People could be
Yeah,
Iron Man.
I saw that one.
Various
already.
jetpacks.
Yeah, jetpacks.
Iron Man.
Anyway, a little bit of Neff. 3 boxes of rocks. George Bond, Will, the PhD biologist, and Nephilim 3. Will is actually like 14, so we got to cut him a little slack.
There's a good question. Could Iron Man defeat Yahweh? I mean, look at the trouble Yahweh had even with iron chariots.
Okay, you know what? Well played. I'll give you that one.
You want me to play?
Yes.
Okay. This is Neff's theory. I don't know. Listen to it.
My opinion. It sets up the angels that get not their first state, Jude 1, Genesis 2. It keeps it sets them up as gods, because ancient man worshipped some of those beings and thought they were God, and it's becoming what comes around goes around. It's coming back around to us again. Like the skirt, the length of women's skirts rises and falls, and the width of a man's pants down at the ankle, they get fatter and they get skinny. Things come and go, and it's coming back around again. And so it's going to be, these beings are going to be worshipped as gods again, and they're going to make their presence in the skies of the earth more and more known. I personally believe that the UFO phenomenon is just really getting started. I think it's going to get much bigger than it is today. That's just my personal opinion.
Aliens. So aliens are angels?
Well, no, it's not aliens. It's aliens.
It's what? Oh, yeah.
Aliens.
Oh, shit. You make me joke.
Well, sorry about that, Speed.
Fuck. Anyway, so Neff thinks I don't know, angels and aliens.
Anybody who says they've identified an unidentified object doesn't know what an unidentified object is, because this is unidentified. Yeah. So anybody who says that's a UFO, I know that's a UFO. It's like no, it's not, because you just identified it as one.
First thing that I think of when I hear him talking about aliens is that he's been talking to Richard Madsen, because that's Richard Madsen's interpretation of the Bible has a lot to do with space and aliens and stuff like that.
So what the hell is up with Nephilim keeps running these evolution experiment videos? Like, he's run about 4 of them, and I never quite can grasp what he's talking about. But Barry comes in, and Argatha's here, and I think he kind of like tries to do. I don't know. We'll see.
And how about it, Barry? You want to be a participant in a ground-shaking, earth-bending experiment on evolution?
Sure. I was really interested in the previous conversation, but if you want to move past that, also, Tony, where are you at? Where it's so bright, man?
202. I think
Australia.
Okay, I think it starts here.
Never get to that.
And we did breed dogs.
No, it's up here.
And how about it, Barry? You want to?
Okay.
Oh, wait a
What do you
minute.
mean?
Shit.
Their data, the results of their experiments, yes.
So
I feel like that's akin to
Well,
crazy.
it was bright outside earlier at my place too.
come
Well, where are
on,
you, like,
Tony?
get to it.
Area there. Yeah. Why is your picture right side up?
before we begin anything, I
Yeah,
want to
that's a
say
good one, Bob.
that the computer I've been using right now, it's better, and I think the snap technology works.
Yeah, man.
You want to get right into the evolution stuff, or we can just
Man. Let's
backtrack for a minute?
perform our.
All right.
Our experiment.
Wait a minute. Let's perform our experiment.
The experiment begins.
You know what I'm here for.
How do we know?
I'll do it because I love you.
How do we know that evolution is true?
That's it.
We don't.
Yes, we do.
Believe evolution.
So, does anybody know what the hell Neff is going on about? So he asks, how do you know evolution is true? And then Barry goes on to ask him a couple of clarifying questions about what the hell he wants to know. And then Neff kicks him out because he failed the experiment or something. But has anybody been following this stuff?
I take it that's meant to be a social experiment of some kind, because it certainly doesn't sound like a physics experiment.
Well, yeah, a social experiment of some kind, but he's trying to.
Yeah, but he referred to it as an evolution experiment.
Yeah, I don't know.
Neff doesn't know the first thing about
maybe.
anything, so.
Maybe he stopped the conversation from evolving by ending it.
Maybe that was the experiment, right? Yeah, but he ended it fairly quickly. But I don't know. We'll play a little bit. Listen to how Barry tried to respond.
If you don't know, it's true.
Well, there's a difference between believing that something is the most likely explanation for something and claiming to know something with a level of certainty.
So if evolution is the likely explanation, what gives us that inference? What is the reason for believing it is almost certainly true? Something like
Mountains of data?
Yeah,
the fact that it's happening.
Let's hear her, Barry. Okay, I'll ask you too. What Barry?
Like I think Tony and I have the same page. Like all of biology, all of science.
Well, that's too general.
The DNA record. Like it's not too general.
Give us one of the primary reasons for believing it.
I feel like that's akin to asking, well, what's the primary reason for believing? Let me finish this sentence, please. I feel like it's akin to asking, what's the primary reason for believing that the world is? I'm not running. I'm answering questions. What's the primary reason for believing that the Earth is a oblate spheroid and not flat? Like I think there's the answer to that is there's so many answers.
Can you pick a good one and elaborate as to what is a good reason for believing evolution?
I guess in this case, since I'm pressed, I will say that for me, the consensus of all the experts in the field and all of the people who study it, the fact that they have performed repeatable experiments and studied this and have come to this conclusion.
Okay.
Yes, I would say the consensus of experts.
Results.
I would say the consensus of experts who have performed these experiments. Yes.
Okay, but their consensus is based on what they believe to be true about the data. So we have to go back to the data. We can skip the scientists' opinions and go to the data. We don't need their opinions. Opinions don't make something true anyway.
Right, because I never said their opinions. I said their data, the results of their experiments. Yes.
Okay, their data. What data what experimental data demonstrates evolution true?
What?
All of it.
Like you can't specify any. You just have to expect us to believe on faith.
Have you looked into
saw.
it?
See, Neff doesn't know the
actually have.
simplest
Yeah, I saw a video
understanding
recently.
of.
It was really funny. It was online, and I'll only go for a minute because I know this is like a little different direction. But it was a video where a guy went up to a woman with a microphone and said, "Name a woman," and she said, "What?" And he said, "Name a woman. Go." And she was like, and it just took her off guard because it's such a weird question because there are so many of them. You don't know where to start. And I just think the question is like, why do you believe in something that's such an obvious apparent fact is weird to me. It's like, why do you believe in gravity? Assuming you do.
Oh, so you really don't really have any specific reason for believing it. Just in general, it seems true.
I would say I have too many specific reasons to narrow it down.
You can't expound upon any of the reasons. Have you investigated any of the reasons and discovered? Oh yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, no? But if I looked up like the if
so
I
give
looked
us
up the
one
DNA
of those. This will be
chain,
about the fourth time that I've asked you to specify a good reason for believing in evolution, and you failed to do so.
All right, because again, the reason I joined this stream is because
Barry,
I heard you. Let me explain. Let me explain.
See you next time.
There's no good reason to believe in intelligent design.
So what the fuck? So this is akin to they always ask, what is your best evidence for evolution? The creationists always ask that. And it's like, and Barry, he really did a good job of explaining why this is a stupid fucking question. I mean, it is a stupid question. Why do you believe in evolution? It's just a stupid fucking question for a stream. I don't know. What do you think? What do you guys think?
It's not to believe, it's to understand.
That's like asking, why do you believe in John? Because John's right here.
Yeah.
I think he should have. I think he should have told him just open Wikipedia and run a search for experimental evolution. There's a page on it there.
Well,
he won't even try.
What do you think Neff is fishing for? He's fishing for one thing so he can run one of his diatribes?
I don't think he was fishing. Actually, I don't think he was fishing at all. I think he was counting on that no specific example would be given, and that was the point he was trying to make. Is look, they can't even bring up a single specific example. It's kind of like like asking, how do you know that cars are on the streets? How do you know there are vehicles on roads on this planet? And you say, well, I've seen one. I've seen them, and they're like, well, then name one, describe one of them.
Yeah.
Well, which one?
Well, how do you know you're not a brain of that?
And I mean, off the top of my head, I probably couldn't do that. Describe a vehicle. I could maybe name a make and a model or something, but I mean, could I pick one specific vehicle out of all of them and describe it?
Yeah. His example of going and asking the woman to name a woman was pretty apt. I think it's kind of what you end up with. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, stuff that comes to my mind. When the question was asked. I think about experiments that have been done with fruit flies, experiments that have been done with bacteria, the fact that we that a virus, the AIDS virus, can actually be seen evolving. It evolves that fast that they can actually watch the AIDS virus evolve. There's all kinds of examples.
That's God.
And they're talking about biases in the science,
the AIDS virus,
or interpretation of the data, but they're the ones that are doing that.
Wait, did I hear that right? God is the AIDS virus?
No. It was a joke. It was.
I know. I just couldn't resist that.
It's just. Oh my God, Otangelo's here. Oh, bacterias have never changed into something else than bacteria.
Oh my fucking. You know what? Let him on the stream.
That's not true.
Huh? What? Let Otangelo on the stream? Is that what you said?
Kidding. Nah, just kidding. It'll be a shit show.
Oh, I don't think I should play the music, should I?
Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
I can't. I can't.
Because
I got my headphones on.
because of the fact that bacteria can be swallowed by other things and become symbiotic and then go on to reproduce inside of them and things like that. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
not
that's basically
entirely true.
that's basically what they think happened with mitochondria. Like it has
Exactly.
different DNA from the rest of the cells. So it's like, oh well, it must have been, I don't know, some bacteria that got swallowed up
Yeah,
rather than dying.
cyanobacteria, something capable of photosynthesizing, was capable of what became the not the
Okay.
mitochondria, but the chloroplasts.
I can't,
as
Leo.
one
I can't
example.
let you in.
Why?
It's not working. It's not working. What the fuck?
Why
There's
would you
no.
let Leo? Why would you let Leo in?
No, he's okay. Leo, you're in the backstage. You can hear me, right? Nod your head if you can hear me. Oh, I heard some music. It wasn't me.
That was me.
I know I can't let him in because I had a share screen up. Sorry. Oh my God, where is he? Endosymbiotic theory is bunk. Otangelo.
You guys hear that?
It's nonsense. Yeah, I heard it. Okay. Bacteria do not swallow other cells.
Okay, I am in the stream. I don't know why I was talking. I didn't even know if I was in the stream yet.
Well,
Actually,
bring him
actually, if you go to the YouTube channel Journey to the Microcosmos, you can see examples of endosymbiosis, and I think they've even got an example of it happening where paramecium got infected and basically went on to reproduce that way. So
Nice.
yeah, no, it's not debunked. It's reality. It still happens.
But it is debunked. Go ahead, John.
I just wanted to say, where the hell is it? Oh, Jerry, no, the Benny Hill wasn't for Leo. It's for Otangelo. That's his theme.
Oh, show.
Yeah, Yaki Sucks. That's Otangelo's theme music.
What was I going to say? Yeah, just to specify, Otangelo isn't talking about just endosymbiosis in general. He's talking about particularly symbiogenesis, or the origin of
eukaryotes.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know. The last couple of days, I just cannot think of words for some reason. The origin of eukaryotes from prokaryotes, or the evolution of eukaryotes from prokaryotes.
I don't know. I used to date a couple girls that swallowed a lot of bacteria.
Jesus Christ.
Speed. Guess what? I found a cool little short book on philosophy of biology. If you're interested.
Yeah.
At some point.
What is the name and the author?
It's the same Princeton series. Let me get you the name of the author.
Yeah, they have interesting ones. Philosophy of biology, of quantum physics. That should be interesting to look at.
Microcosmos is a pretty cool site. Does everybody know about this site?
About what site?
Microcosmos.
Journey to the Microcosmos.
Yeah.
But what is that on the screen right now?
I believe I have no idea. We'd have to. It's something eating something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
According to Otangelo.
That's probably exactly what it is. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And I don't think that's the video I was talking about either. But yeah, they it can be seen these days where something eats something else, and the thing that it eats doesn't die.
It's by Peter Godfrey Smith, Philosophy of Biology, Princeton Foundations of Contemporary.
Can I interject something real quick?
Did you type it in somewhere?
No, can I put it in private chat?
Can I interject real quick apropos of nothing? I mean, it was bad enough that the collective IQ of the side chat went down 25 points when Otangelo showed up. Now Stanley's here, and it went down another.
Oh no!
Oh really? Oh, Stanley. Wait, what is he?
Stanley.
The mean IQ of the live chat just lost like 75 points in the last 5 minutes.
It's okay. I'm here to rescue.
Well, maybe we need to suggest a topic for them.
Stanley. Okay.
Just to bring it back up a bit. Hey, can I bring up something unrelated? Maybe
unrelated to what?
Give to whatever we've been talking about so far. Maybe it'll give the live chat something to talk about a little different.
Okay.
All right.
Did you get it, Speed?
Can you see this on my picture? Two hands.
Yes.
Okay, that's the number 0. This is 255. Probably can't see that all the way here. If I back up, that's 255. Now, how does that work? Well,
nope.
I can do it this way as 1, or I can do this way as 1, depending. I want to do it. I want to do it.
It would really help, Speed. It would really help if you made all of us full screen right now, so that we can see what the fuck he's doing.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try to put these in order on from left to right on the screen. So the lowest order digit is on the right. So what I'm doing is I make a gap. That's a 1. Okay. If I move that gap over here, that's a 2. Get that out of the way. Okay. If I open the 1 back up, now I've got a 3. 1 plus 2. Close those and open this one. I've got a 4. I want to back it up a little more. Okay, that's 4. Open the 1, 5. Close that and open the 2, 6. Open the 1 back up, 7. Okay, there's the 8th position. Open that one. I've got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
You doing
15.
binary finger math?
That's 1 hand, and then 16 on the other hand.
So was this developed by Spock?
No. It's my own. It's my own system, actually. If I want to, for example, if I'm doing some lessons on my phone and I want to go through 16 lessons, or 15 lessons, whatever. If I don't want to have to keep track of which number lesson I'm on in my head while I'm at the same time doing the lessons, I can just hold my phone with my hand open like that, and I've got the number 15, and little by little I can count down 14, 13, 12, 11, and so on until I get down to 0, and I've done my 16 lessons.
What is he talking about? Did I miss something?
Are you doing like a binary representation with your fingers by opening them up?
Yep.
Okay, if you go beyond 16, what do you end up with? You got to get another finger?
The other hand. The other hand.
Oh.
That's why I said you can go to 255 on 2 hands. But if I'm doing it on just 1 hand, yeah, then I got a little problem going beyond 16. Another thing that I do is this one. 1, 2, 3. I don't know how many people recognize that as 3. A lot of people say this is 3. In American Sign Language, that's 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. And this is 100, by the way. And if you just leave the other hand out, it's the letter C, but you can use that to represent the 100. So there are ways that you can represent more than just, counting 1 to 10 on 2 hands.
So
cool.
I have to address something in the live chat here, and there's people in this room that can back me up on this.
Holy shit.
Otangelo Grasso says, John Peterson, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Speed. John Peterson, if you think you are so superior and smart, accept my offer to debate the origin of molecular machines. Since you did not email me, I guess you are a soy boy.
What is a soy? Isn't that a uncell? What do they call them? Incel term?
No.
Yeah.
It originated in.
As far as
community.
physicists have been able to figure out so far, the origin of so-called molecular machines would be the Big Bang, because
Hold on and let me finish, Dak. Let me finish with my salt. Let me spread the salt, and then you can, Okay. So, as people in here remember, I did accept Otangelo's offer to have a debate, in which he said I could choose the topic, and I chose the topic. I wanted to debate him on the age of the universe, but he changed his mind and said, "Oh no, I changed my mind. You don't get to pick the topic now. Either debate me on the topic I choose, or you're a soy boy." Well, guess what, Otangelo? When you do something like that, you know what that makes you? A soy boy.
Yeah. Or my son tells me never to use that term. It's an incel term, and he doesn't understand why the Christians use it.
Speed.
Why the Christians got into this soy boy shit.
Okay, wait a minute. I got to real quick. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. I need to take a vote of the room. Otangelo just posted, John, you are a bad imitator of my voice. Try harder. Am I a bad imitator of Otangelo's voice?
No,
not really.
No,
I don't think I know what his voice sounds like. Didn't realize you were imitating it.
Yeah.
The question if God exists or not.
Wait,
okay, I can tell you, Otangelo, he doesn't.
Speaking of debates, by the way, I've got mine rescheduled. My Kent Hovind debate is now scheduled for Tuesday, 7 p.m. Central Time.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I do.
My question is, if the age of the universe has nothing to do with God, then why are creationists so intent on claiming it's only 6,000 years old? Why can't they just be like, oh yeah, you're right?
Because that has something to do with whether or not their Bible is valid, and
so
whether or not
ultimately
their
it does
Bible is
have
valid
something to do with
reflects
God
back on
exists.
whether or not their God is real.
Exactly, it does have something to do with whether or not God exists.
Right, that's his claim.
Well, it has something to do with what they consider evidence that their God exists, which is not evidence. It's a storybook. You know, stories of Alice in Wonderland aren't proof that the Cheshire Cat exists.
Well, but one thing, Dak, though, it is evidence. Evidence doesn't have to necessarily be a proof of a point someone's going to, you know what I mean? Like, things can be claimed to be evidence, and they're evidence of something, but they're just not necessarily evidence of what people claim it's evidence of.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm saying it's not evidence of their God existing. He's a character in the story. It is evidence of something. Yeah, I'll agree on that. It is, at the very least, evidence that somebody wrote a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's non-substantive evidence, basically.
Yeah, and if they want to use it as evidence in the court sense, in the sense of like, hearsay is evidence, it's the worst kind of evidence they could possibly come up with, even in that respect, because it's worse than hearsay. It's like hearsay that was passed down and then passed down more and mistranslated and retranslated and translated from one language to another and it's even if it was true, there's so much lost that we wouldn't even be able to say it's still true.
Can we address this comment by Otangelo? I mean,
did you notice that we got him to say balls?
The same what?
We got Otangelo to say balls.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're actually getting to him. We're working on him.
This one.
Now this comment by him here,
yeah, big balls,
just kind of cracks me up because he says, "Oh, and then now you take it off the screen as soon as I go to fucking read it." Speed.
What?
You took that comment off the screen I was just talking about.
Oh shit! Oh, balls.
No, John, you claimed John, you claimed that proteins are not molecular machines. Now you don't have the balls to back up your claim. Well, first of all, I never claimed that, because for me to have claimed that, first it would have to not be already empirically proven that cells are absolutely not machines. Okay, so why would I claim, that would be like you saying that I claimed water was wet, or I claimed that, the atmosphere had oxygen in it. So I never made a claim. I claimed you were wrong. Okay, so I guess I did make a claim, but.
So
okay, I'm done.
Andrew left. Standing for Truth issued this challenge about the Y chromosome and mtDNA. And the thing is that mitochondrial DNA and I believe the Y chromosome show that the out of Africa theory is still stands real strongly. And they keep trying to get around that African problem. The fact that
I have to wonder why, because when I talk to people who are trying to say that humans didn't originate, or that some humans at least didn't originate in Africa, it's usually because they're racists.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Lucifer Almighty, will you stop?
That happens.
I get so sick of hearing that.
Water isn't wet.
Water isn't
humans originated in Africa. If they want to say that humans are European, they got to go farther back than humans.
Well, I mean, if you're European, you should probably find a restaurant.
Yeah, well, there's that. No, I'm just saying, there are ancestors of humans that came from Europe, but that's not where humans originated. That's where some of the ancestors of humans originated. And it's like that for life all over our planet. Life has gotten around.
Hey, Standing for Truth, I got a question for you since they brought up the Africa thing. And I think it was Top Dog shared a very interesting picture earlier that was a approximation, that somebody came up with of what Jesus would look like. Standing, if you could answer the question in the live chat, it'd be great. Do you think that Jesus looked like the depictions and the paintings that traditionally Christians have?
I mean, I actually have a better question. Why did he decide to get on camera now, of all times?
Who did? Oh, Donnie? Or I mean, Stanley?
Yes.
Yeah. See that one from Otangelo now? Now he's trying to play off. Otangelo's not trying to play off like what I just said a few minutes ago, is that I'm now agreeing with him that the protein's a machine. Yeah, that's what I meant by that, Otangelo.
Oh, Standing and Andrew are going at it, and Andrew left. I think he had to go.
No, he didn't leave. The comment that you're highlighting is from a minute ago.
No, I mean,
he left the stream before he said, "I'll come back in if it gets interesting."
He left the stream before I even came to watch the stream.
Yeah, Stanley, look at the picture in Top Dog's window now. That's what they say is more proximate to what Jesus would have looked like.
That definitely is. The guy that we see in pictures today was modeled after some like Spanish guy from like the 1300s or something like that.
No, yeah. I always thought it was modeled after 20-year-old. What the fuck is his name?
So I have no idea what Standing and Andrew are talking about. Something about how phylogenetic trees differ depending on which gene you pick, maybe? I don't know. I'm not sure.
Standing, that's a good question, but I doubt that's what he looked like.
Was that what he looked like exactly? No, but it's a better representation of what people that were male that lived in the Middle East would have looked like. Anybody who thinks that somebody who was born in the Middle East of completely Middle Eastern parents would have been born white with blonde or light brown hair and blue eyes is a fucking mook who has no understanding of not just anthropology, but genetics as well.
I just
how you really feel.
I asked Stanley why he thinks that.
Phylogenetic trees are actually pretty consistent. But sure, I mean, if you're using a very small sample of a genome rather than a full genome, sure, it can make a difference what sample you're using. But it's generally going to be a very small difference. Taxonomic trees vary quite a bit because not all of them are phylogenetic. And when I say quite a bit, it's small, but compared to the phylogenetic trees, there's quite a bit of variance.
Yeah, if we were to believe the paintings that Christians put out of Jesus, then Jesus looked like a 25-year-old Eric Clapton.
That's a pretty good one, Jack.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Okay, so Stanley doubts that Jesus looked like that, but he doesn't know why. He just doubts it because I think it maybe it's his whiteness.
I got to be honest. I really don't think that Standing is a racist. If I mean, I really don't.
Yeah, but it could be his whiteness that's making him not respond to that picture.
Or it could just be that he grew up depicting Jesus in a certain way, and so now he's convinced that must be what he looked like.
Yeah, I remember the big picture in the Presbyterian Church with the Spanish Jesus or the white Jesus. Yeah, that's what I remember. And it's like,
Well, here's an interesting thing though. When you think about it, when you're talking about what Jesus looked like, most Christians that I know of, most Jesus believers, believe that Jesus was a spiritual being, and when he was born, he had genetics. So did he end up looking like the spiritual being? If they die and they go to heaven and they meet Jesus, are they going to recognize him? Does he have the nail prints in his hands in his spiritual form?
Yeah. That's interesting.
Or are they going to go, I don't know who you are?
Hey, that's what Drace is. He's in live chat. He's got SFT's back on that racism thing.
Okay, no, SFT said yes. I do believe he was dark like that. So what he was saying is that the exact picture that was shown up is not like a depiction of Jesus.
Oh, okay.
But that Jesus would have obviously been dark skinned and everything like that.
Yeah.
Which that picture
probably wasn't meant to be very exact.
Yeah, the picture that Top Talk brought up wasn't. Yeah, it's not supposed to be an exact depiction of Jesus. It's just supposed to show like this is what your average Middle Eastern guy looked like, 2,000 years ago. So Jesus would have looked something like that, but not exactly. Like he would have had dark skin, probably hair that might have been a little bit longer than that, a little maybe scraggly, and a beard. He would have looked like a Middle Eastern guy.
I'm kind of like cognitively torn here because I'd really like hearing what Standing is saying, that Jesus would have been darker like that picture depicts. Adam and Eve would have been like a middle brown. I mean, but then at the same time in my head I'm going, wait a minute, I'm happy because he's accurately describing fictional beings.
Well, Adam and Eve. I mean that's there isn't any way to know. I mean, where they were from wouldn't have had anything to do with it because supposedly they were created whatever way they were. So,
yeah, but they gave birth to a whole bunch of Middle Eastern people, didn't they? Kind of? No, I guess.
Well, supposedly they gave birth to everybody in a manner of speaking, indirectly, of course, through generations. And so which race would they have been closest to? Wouldn't be so much a matter of place as it would be primitiveness.
Yeah.
And if you consider, for example, what is it? Esau in the Bible is described as so hairy that when his brother tried to pass himself off as him by using goat fur to mimic the hair on his body, he got away with it. If you consider that idea that some of the people back then, according to the Bible, were so hairy that their fur on their body could pass for goat fur to a blind person, you got to wonder, did Adam and Eve look like a rhesus monkey or a chimpanzee or orangutan, or what did they look like? I mean, there's no way to know with that much variance, the variance we have now, and then adding to it the stuff that the Bible indicates. Yeah, we couldn't know what they look like.
Yeah, they did spread out and become like everybody. So
can I make the comment?
They probably look like Tiktaalik.
Can I make the comment I've been trying to make for the last 15 minutes now?
Tiktaalik, I like that.
Yeah, Leo.
So Danny, nice new profile picture.
Oh, thank you.
It fits you.
Who, did you do that yourself, or did you?
No, my friend. She's an artist, and I paid her to do it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cheap. So if y'all want your own, you can just ask me for her to do it.
Can she do one that makes me look less ugly?
Yeah, that's what she did for me.
Yeah. Well, no homo, but you're not ugly.
No, but I just get the right angles.
I should get the right. It's all about
lighting.
It's all geometry.
Did you just say you're not a homo? Because that is our genus,
Well, yeah, but I'm not a homo in the colloquial.
Oh my God, this guy.
I actually asked Aaron Ra to use that on his systematic classification of life video. I suggested it, and he was like, "Oh, I so want to use that now," and he never did. I told him, that when he gets to the genus Homo, you should ask, are you man enough to admit you're a homo?
Hey, Danny, one good thing has come out of recent days here.
But one good thing
has come out of recent days. Do you know what I'm talking about?
One good thing has been? No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are no longer the exemplar of pedantry.
Who is that now? Oh, yeah, I'm dying here. I really am.
I've had nightmares about you two ending up in the same stream. So far, it's been okay, but I got my fucking hand on the mute button.
I'm keeping my hatred in the chat. Don't worry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Speed, you must not have been looking in the chat.
Is it like caged in there?
Oh fuck! Is it? Oh yeah. I have noticed a few things in the chat, and be nice, guys. Be nice to each other. Love each other like a good atheist.
Yeah, I could throw a big hand grenade to everything and read one of these comments I thought was so funny.
Donald and Danny 1-on-1. Oh my God, the match of the century.
I'm down for that.
I don't see the point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a shot.
Doing what?
Okay, Danny, define point.
I don't see that. I don't have a goal that like would commit me to talking with him.
Define point.
That's what I said. Doing what?
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Judgy people, man. Judgy people. So
hey,
remember,
Andrew, be careful. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump on it. Be careful.
I mean, this is the guy that we were talking about unicorns. And I'm like, well, there's this some concept of unicorn. You can think of it as this and this and that. When obviously we're talking about the mythological.
Let me finish this real quick. Standing for Truth just posted at Andrew Cumming. I do like you, and I do like your questions, though. That's when you got to start being real careful, Andrew, when Standing says he likes you, because he will display the exact opposite of that forthwith.
Debunk you, Standing. Your sources are Jensen and AIG and ICR.
What
no
is
one
there
needs
to debunk?
You.
There's nothing there to debunk.
Fucking like humans are remarkably similar to each other. Yeah, we're the same fucking species, dude. What'd you expect,
bro?
And we've.
I mean, I'm not too sure about albinos.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we're all the same subspecies, no less.
Yeah. Anyway,
Homo sapiens sapiens.
No, we're not animals. God made us special.
Yep.
Is that a reference to like the Special Olympics, or what kind of special are we talking about here?
He's that kind of special. What did LPP kick you out of the stream? Did he
God
kick
was
you
all
out?
powerful, so he made us all handicapped in
both
comparison?
of us out. Speed. We talked about this.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, I have a transcript for that. By the way, now I have a transcript. If you guys wanted to go over that in more detail at some point, you're logical, plausible, and blah blah blah. Plumbable. Yep. A genial? What is a genial? What is a genial? Does somebody know?
No.
Speed of dad. Anyway. Oh, genius. Genius? I don't know. Anyway. What's happening? God.
No, what is
you
happening?
guys suddenly got very quiet. What the fuck?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
not my line.
Are we ending early? What are we doing?
I don't know.
I got a thing at 4:30. We're going to stream that paper, and unfortunately,
the article was an error.
I forgot to edit the last 30 seconds of it out. So forgive me with the way it ends.
Is it cringe?
I don't know. It's just me and Immutable saying what the fuck or something like that. I can't remember. It was, but anyway, it'll be an embarrassing editing moment. I tried to edit the thing, but editing takes fucking days, and I don't have days to spend on this crap. Anyway, but we're going over the first part of the why the cell is not a fucking machine video.
Pardon me.
Or paper. Not a fucking machine. Andrew Cumming, the statue. More similar to chimpanzee than a what? Standing, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. The thing about Standing for Truth is the thing he's best at is making claims about being right. He knows shit about any of this stuff. All of his sources come from that AIG, ICR stuff, and those guys are lying through it. And I think Stanley is actually lying.
Okay, I have to ask Top Dog a question. Top Dog, how familiar are you with OBS Studio? Not Streamlabs, but OBS Studio on MacBooks.
Only know about Windows.
Damn it. That's what everybody fucking says.
Yeah, same here. I've never tried it on a MacBook.
An Apple.
I use it on the MacBook or on
I'm
a
using
Mac.
it right now. The OBS, the normal
On the Mac?
OBS on the Windows.
Oh, I use it on the Mac. Streamlabs OBS just came out for the Mac, but OBS has always worked on the Mac.
Yeah, Streamlabs, since it's new, it's a little out there yet.
I've never really seen a Mac. How is it different from Windows? I mean,
Wow.
The operating system.
Okay.
That's what I mean. I can't imagine how it would be. Like, to me, I've used that system. So, like, how isn't it basically the same thing? Like, a different operating system, but don't Windows open up on your computer? And
Okay, David or Lori Hayes, tell me where that was. Joel has been missing, like, for weeks, I think, and he claims to have seen Joel talking more nonsense last night.
Yeah, that was last night. I saw him last night.
Where
Was this on?
I forgot. I think it was Praise's
I
channel.
was gonna say it's probably Praise's channel.
By the way, John, do you know the difference between Android and like iPhones or
Android and iOS?
Yeah, iOS.
right, I'm just saying I've never seen like a Mac computer, so I don't know what the difference is between that operating system and Windows is, because like I've only ever seen like Windows.
Well,
so I can't imagine how I can't imagine how it would be fundamentally different. I mean, if you go to a website,
in that respect,
something else on your computer, it just
okay. I can tell you the difference is Windows is despair, and Mac is like light and breezy, and you can do things.
Yeah, I love Mac, but I'm stuck on PC because
that really doesn't explain anything to John. Really, it's like the way if you wanted to download Google Chrome on a Windows computer, it's going to download differently than it is on a MacBook, than it is on a Mac OS. And the way that you download things on a cell phone, where you download more of an app and then everything just runs through that application, or Mac OS has almost always operated that way, at least going back as far as I've been using them, which goes back as far as 2007. Then when you download something, it downloads more as an application that where everything is ran through the application than the way that it downloads on a Windows computer. So it's just the way that certain things run, the way that certain programs run, the things that you can do in those programs is different.
I don't see Joel. Where's
Wait
Joel?
a minute. Who is that? Oh.
Yeah, the Mac also tends to hide a lot of details from people that they figure,
So Dak is
you don't need to know about.
Dak is actually someone that I know. I not know like we know each other, but now that he put his avatar up, I've seen him in many chats. Over in the ACA chat an awful lot too. Is that a picture of you, Dak?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to talk about your fame or your or not?
I just heard John go, "Oh," and I was like, "Oh, what happened?"
I'll leave that to my
figured
fans,
something out.
I think.
I
What do you
can't.
mean of your fame?
I can't find Joel.
You didn't shoot up a school, did you?
He did. No, he used to have a van. But no, I was talking about something else actually. But
I was going to say, kind of looks like he could be a member of Bare Naked Ladies.
I couldn't find anything
I
on
look
Joel.
like a bare naked lady. I don't see the resemblance.
Not an actual Bare Naked Lady.
Yep. Okay, guys. I don't think we're going anywhere today. Does anybody want to go anywhere with anything?
I mean,
well, Gutsy Gibbon just got here. Maybe she does.
Oh, where do you want to go? I sent Erica an invite.
Hey, Erica, get in here and save this show.
Yeah. We're about to shoot it in the head. I was so afraid that Don and Danny would get into it, and then they got in and they perfectly balanced each other, so both of them are very quiet today, and it's like freaking me the hell out.
Yeah.
Maybe Erica can come in here.
Like two perfect opposing forces, and we're going nowhere.
Swear to God, Mike just doesn't work.
God. Otangelo claims Zeus is not a god.
Yeah. The video
Are you
isn't
really
there.
gonna listen to him?
Who?
Otangelo.
Well, no, I think I always find it very humorous when people deny other people's gods. People that believe in a god deny other people's god.
Fucking Christ is risen again? When did this happen?
For as often as this guy is risen, he must be like 98% helium.
It's like on January 6th.
Or
Greg, did he rise up on January 6th? Isn't it great? We have 9/11 and we have 1/6 now. So
yeah,
we can talk. Yeah. Christ is risen. I didn't know, Otangelo. I didn't know he got up again. You know, you can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man. Well, according to Nephilim, I think he's going to be like an alien or a UFO. Oh no, that's angels. Or are the angels supposed to come back as devils or some fucking thing?
I don't fucking know.
What is the deal with Christianity? Will somebody explain Christianity to me? I don't know.
Hey, if you've never seen it before, you got to go over to the Rages channel and check out a video from about 1.5 years ago called "The Phylogeny of the Sandwich."
Oh God!
Do you remember that, Midday?
No.
Vaguely, but yeah, it was a thing where you guys made a religion around the sandwich.
Can I gauge the room? I have a question for everybody. I want him to give me an answer.
Sure. Andrew wants to come in and ask Erica a question too. So when he okay,
well, where's Erica?
Well, and if they're listening, they can tell me. Well, they're awesome. Andrew's here because he might answer this question. But my question was going to be, I'm trying to figure out. I thought I was going to do one on the Big Bang, but I think I want to do something that might be just a little bit more interesting, maybe slightly more specified for my first one, for my first episode of Dr. Eigenstate Explains. So somebody give me a really cool science topic and make it a science topic that I actually know something about. Don't go deep into evolution.
Quantum mechanics.
Well, that's a little too broad. I mean, what part?
Schrodinger's equation, and how the wave function creates reality, or gives rise to reality anyway.
Allows us to measure it.
Yes.
I could do that. Yeah. I am planning on doing one on wave function collapse at some point.
Oh wait, hold on. Actually, I still have to read this part, but explain why the wave function collapses when you measure it, because if you know about the Devil's Slit experiment, with you don't measure it, you get the interference pattern. You measure it, you get the two, things.
Yeah, talk about wave function collapse and what the hell that really means.
So that's the one I should do for my first one.
I think so.
Yes.
So let's see. Andrew wants to ask Erica a question, and they're both here.
Woohoo!
Andrew?
What's up, everyone?
Howdy.
I think you need to do a speed of light video there, Leo.
Well, that works, but that
light?
will be second.
That's another good one.
I've been hearing whispers of the speed of light is variable thing from creationists lately.
Yeah, which is just kind of bullshit.
Yeah, it's funny though because the arguments do recycle a lot. Like for instance, I think Sal's been talking about racinization dating recently, and he pulled that on Debate Evolution, the subreddit, 3 years ago. And then he stopped because it got dunked on. And then now he's bringing it up again. I don't know why he is. I'm trying to get on his channel to chat with him about it.
Yeah, I want to get back into that, Erica, because I ran his graph. I ran his graph, and then I quit looking into it. But I think what he's doing is extremely embarrassing for him, and I just have to look further into it.
Of course. But can I add something really quick about the speed of light being variable?
Andrew hasn't asked his question yet, but go ahead. We'll get this done with.
Well, no. Yeah, no. I just wanted to say that there is some truth to that, because from what I've seen, they've been able to slow the speed of light down to 0. So, and also the speed of light, light does slow down when it enters a medium, at least here on Earth anyway. In space, it just goes to 300 million square miles. Never mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's the speed of light in a vacuum, and there's the speed of light in different media. But as far as slowing it down to 0, how would they measure it?
I don't know. I have to go back and watch.
I haven't
video.
seen.
I got
the
my
only
doubts on that one
I've
because
ever
how would they
heard
measure
about
it?
the speed of light varying is that it could have varied in the very, very early universe. But the speed of light actually doesn't slow down in any medium. The trajectory the light travels changes, elongating the time it takes to travel a certain distance. But the speed that the photons are traversing through the medium at, between the interactions, when they are in vacuum, between the interactions, they are still moving at c. There's just more interactions that the photon takes place in, which changes its trajectory and elongates the amount of time it takes to traverse through the medium.
And they are massless.
Your measured speed is what ends up changing.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, can we get
that's a better point. That's a better way of putting it.
A mathematical way of putting it is obviously because the speed of light is a velocity. It's a vector quantity because there's two arguments for it. Only one of those arguments in that vector changes. Only one of the quantities that the vector defines changes, and that is the direction quantity. But the magnitude quantity or the actual speed does not change.
Yeah.
Just direction.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead. We've taken enough of your time.
Yeah. So I don't want to take too much of your time, Erica, and I actually have to head out soon to get a haircut. But if you could spare a few minutes, do you mind if I ask you a question about phylogenetics again?
I can do my absolute best to try to answer it. Yes.
All right, that's all I ask for. So you probably saw me and standing in the chat talking about nested hierarchies again.
Ooh, I didn't know Standing was in the chat.
He was.
Well, Erica didn't get here until like 10 minutes ago, so.
Yeah.
So I was trying to point out to him, basically that if in order to create a nested hierarchy for designed objects, as he claims, that you need to weigh certain characters subjectively a priori, right? So that way you get a nested hierarchy, but you get several nested hierarchies that are all equally likely because there's no actual relationship involved. You would first agree there, right?
I would actually, maybe I'm misunderstanding. I would disagree on the basis that some traits are objectively basal. This goes for genetics, like looking at specific genes that are inherently shared amongst all living things, and when you run a molecular clock on them, they are indeed old. Like the methods of determining which traits are old and which are young aren't subjective. For instance, segmented, like tagmosis in the fossil record is something that appears very, very early in arthropods. And that's basically just body segmentation, right? And this is something that all arthropods have today and appears very ancient in the fossil record as well. So I would say that yes, I would say yes, I do disagree on that premise.
Yeah, I would disagree with it also. Same reasons and a few others, actually. But yeah, it's if you want to look at different taxonomic trees and try to figure out, which ones are the most reliable, just compare them with each other. Because they should all agree with each other. If they're all representing the same thing, they should all agree with each other. And this is what's actually done is they use a lot of different taxonomic trees worked out in different ways, and comparisons between them resolve the differences.
Right. And I was trying to go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say I agree. I mean, you can do this with morphology with relation to the fossil record, or you can do it with genetics with relation to the molecular clock. But yeah, I would agree with do you prefer Donald or Kronos?
Whatever you want to call me. Most of the people I know call me Doc these days. It's
Doc, okay.
It's an acronym for my full name.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd agree with Doc then.
So you're Eric, are you saying that cladistic methods can be applied to designed objects?
I would say no, because designed objects, one, don't have heritability. That's the key difference. And because they don't have heritability, you can't come up with any kind of hierarchy of which design came first.
Well, the designs might have heritability in a sense. I mean, if you look at, for example, automobiles, the designs of automobiles have evolved. The automobiles themselves evolve only through their designs evolving. But you can also, there's also no restriction or very little restriction on how you can crossbreed them. You know, that you can take traits from one and put them in another. When you're designing a new automobile, you start the design from scratch, more or less, and basically say, well, we'll throw in a little of this and a little of that. As opposed to when two life forms mate with each other and produce an offspring, you're not in any sense starting from scratch. You're starting with two genomes.
Right. Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to say. Basically, that if I don't know if this is what you were saying, Erica, but like when you're trying to determine the ancestral condition for a designed object, at least you can't do it because when you do that, you always get this tree, but if you base it off a different character or a different order of characters, I guess, then you get a completely different tree that is equally likely. Whereas with living things, you get a high statistical significance for the broad relationships between organisms. I guess, what would you say with that?
Provided how they're reproducing is reasonably consistent. Yeah. When you look at, for example, sideways, gene transfer between bacteria and stuff like that, genes being transferred by way of a virus, there are some factors involved. But the thing is, if a virus infects a gamete or a cell that produces a gamete, and ends up in the offspring, in every cell in the offspring as a result, it's then part of the genome, and it will be passed on to all of the offspring of that offspring as well, or at least all of those that inherit it. I mean, it's something that's trackable. It's going to be in the same place or in very, very close to the same place, and have the exact same or very close to exact same genetic structure as it moves on. And when it mutates, when it gets a slight change in that genetic structure or a slight change in its position, that also is inherited. And a lot of our genetic material is made out of endogenous retroviruses. I think something like 8%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's I watched a couple videos of that.
It's a pretty large percentage at any rate.
No, I think I think it's appropriate. I think that your critique of creating these design hierarchies is appropriate. What was Standing not understanding about that critique?
Well, I was trying to point out to him that, for instance, most of the physical constants in cosmology, for instance, are known to a significance of about, or certainty of about 1% or so. Whereas you look at dozens of taxa on the tree of life as a whole, I guess, or at least the major branches, and you get a statistical significance that's way above, or I guess it's way more certain than 1%, right? So I was trying to point him out to that and say, okay, you get this high statistical congruence between trees, even if individual trees vary based on certain genes. If you take a bunch of genes and put them together, they should line up with each other and match more significantly, and they do, right? So I guess that's what I was trying to point out to him and ask you about.
Well,
Does the person you're talking about? Sorry.
No, I was. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, does the person that you're talking about understand statistical probability or statistical significance? Because most people really don't, and or I should say, most people don't understand it very well. Some people don't understand it at all. I ran into someone, for example, recently who was saying that that is, when it comes to this COVID-19 pandemic, that the mask doesn't make any difference at all, because you can still catch the virus if you're wearing a mask, and you can still not catch the virus if you're not wearing a mask, as if those two possibilities are, not possibilities, but both 100% certainties. Like, there's no math involved. There's no improvement in your chances of not catching the virus if you wear the mask, simply because of the fact that it's still possible that you can catch it. Some people don't get this stuff.
Well, creationists love to invoke statistics in the way of what are the odds of spontaneously generating, a single the human genome, right? Like, or the most basal form of life. What are the odds of getting that? All of the proper chemicals in the proper place, which of course is inappropriate in and of itself. Because
what they're really invoking is incredulity.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is incredulity because there's a lot of application of extant organisms to something that would have been nothing like extant organisms. But this inappropriate use of statistics in and of itself, the importance of statistics to them falls by the wayside completely when we look at what you're talking about, these phylogenetic trees with regard to genetics, or when you incorporate biogeography and morphology into it in the case of primates as an order, because primates is what I specialize in. But the odds of getting the results, the odds of seeing what we see, the connections that we see within the primate order without having a common ancestry, the odds that we're looking at random noise here or separate ancestry is species and family separate ancestry is what they tested actually in this paper. I think it was a 2016 paper, is very analogous, or it's actually identical to the odds of picking a single atom correctly out of all of the atoms in the universe 3 times subsequently with replacement. So
that sounds about right.
Yeah,
can I say something just really
puts
really
the term astronomical to shame?
No, it's insane. But they will, and the last thing I want to say real fast, Leo, and then I'll toss it over to you. The real problem with this designed nested hierarchy thing, one, it's ad hoc. But the other problem with that is it lacks lines. There's no line by which they can draw, okay, well, all of these designs are similar, but they are you have this truncation between this group of designs and this group of designs. They can't identify a line in the genetics as to what kinds are what, right? And that creates huge problems for this design analogy, like from the starting.
But they think scientists are doing the same thing with with evolutionary history and proper taxonomy. So they don't see the distinction.
If that were the case, they would not have come up with the newer taxonomies that they've come up with based on molecular evolution and the newer classification. But the big problem for creationism, the big problem for creation or for the created or design is that if you look at the non-conserved regions where basically the order does not matter. I mean, it doesn't matter which nucleotide you put in there. You see hierarchies in that, and it matches the phylogenies that we get through. And in fact, that's how we create the phylogenies, is by looking at the regions that do not matter. The conserved regions.
I'm going to jump in here real quick and just play moderator. Leo's been trying to get in for like.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you.
And then I'd like to.
Well, I think, but before we get too far past what Leo wanted to comment on, because he's trying to get in for several minutes, let him go first. Go ahead, Leo.
I just want to comment really quickly on something that Otangelo said in the chat, because I think it's an important correction that needs to be made. Most chemicals, when we're talking, origins of life and early biochemistry on the prebiotic Earth, would not have been burned by UV radiation. In fact, ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun most likely played a very large role in advancing the chemical reactions that took place on a prebiotic Earth that eventually led to life. And it is possible that I have heard, Speed would know more, Immutable would know more, Doc or Erica may potentially know more, but shit, I just lost my thought. God damn it.
Would you look
So Leo, while you're thinking of that,
I got it back.
There you go.
I got it back.
There we go.
That electromagnetic radiation may have even had some part in selecting for the chemicals that are used by life today, by triggering certain processes to happen over others, or just maybe destroying some chemicals but preserving others, things like that.
Had to have had. Whether and that includes whether it happened here on Earth or out in the vacuum of space or on another planet. Regardless, that had to have had an effect. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but UV radiation. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it goes down with the sun.
What do you mean?
if the sun goes down, where are you going to get UV radiation from?
Oh,
well, no, you said goes down with the sun. There were several ways I
Goes
could.
down with the sun.
So what you mean is that
Yeah,
when the sun.
that's where my brain went to.
I hate when
Wait,
people
do you
say
get
goes
UV
down.
radiation from the moon or not?
The
No,
recycles. No.
no.
The moon is
The-
just a reflection of the sun's light.
Yeah,
so
there-
you
there-
get
most of
there
the
should
moon
be.
is mainly
And the other thing-
silicon, and the silicon is going to absorb more of the higher level photons and reflect
No,
back.
no. The fact is that green cheese does not give off radiation.
there is something that probably should be pointed out with regard to the moon's reflected light from the sun. While it may look very bright to the human eyes because of the way our eyes adjust to the darkness around us, and that one light source is very bright in comparison, the amount of light that's reflected by the moon is about the equivalent of blacktop pavement on a street.
Mm-hmm.
It's really that dark. It just looks bright because we've got nothing brighter around to compare it with.
Optic illusion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
a matter of how our eyes adjust to the dark.
So,
Hell, if you really want to
Erica,
the sun isn't even that bright.
Not a lot of light is my point, and therefore not a lot of UV, regardless of whether all of it gets reflected or just some of it.
Yeah.
In relation to other parts of the spectrum, visible. If there's as much UV being reflected as visible light, it's still not a lot of UV.
Yeah, and I did want to make one final
plants
point.
Not use it.
I did want to make one final point that I believe that right after Earth's collision with Theia, which was a Mars-sized object, which is why Earth rotates, why it precesses about its axis, and why it is tilted on its axis. It's also why we have the moon. That is the remnants of an object, and that like the really, really dark part of the moon, I believe, is what it represents.
Yes.
The part of that object that actually physically struck the Earth. Anyway,
And was Earth really Earth before that?
yeah. So once Earth started rotating, I think a day was like, what was it, like 9 hours or something like that? It was significantly faster than it is 4 billion years later.
Well, it was probably rotating before it got struck, but not necessarily
very,
the
very
same
fast.
speed or the same. Yeah. So it seems it gained some rotational momentum.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
And then of course the moon, the gravity of the moon has been tugging on it ever since then and slowing that down.
Yep.
And that in the some of that rotational momentum is being transferred from the Earth to the moon, so the moon actually is speeding up and getting farther away.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Very,
2
very,
inches
very
per
slowly.
year, or about 4 centimeters per year.
So, I do have to head out soon, but before I do, I'd like to clarify one last thing, if that's okay, Erica.
Yeah, please do.
So a past email I've gotten from a biology professor, said that cladistics or phylogenetics is based on, or the relationships are based on uniquely shared traits and comparing those across different taxa, and that presumably shows more and more recently, or more and more recent common ancestors depending on the group you're studying, right? So I want to ask, and SFT kind of brings this up, that evolutionary phylogenetics assumes common ancestry a priori, and I want to ask your thoughts on that. Do these?
But it doesn't really.
Do these unique traits?
That's just where the evidence leads.
Top dog, your camera's on.
And Dak, don't take any heat from this, but I think that Andrew was addressing his question to Erica.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Here's the moderator and John coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to give my take on that. I mean, the reason, so common ancestry is not assumed. He's correct in saying that, Dak is correct in saying that that's where the evidence leads, because DNA is essentially the currency of it's the currency of heredity, right? So DNA is passed on. Things reproduce; they pass their DNA on. It's not violated, period, throughout the history of life. Now you do see complicated things with horizontal gene transfer in bacteria and things like that. But let's just let's just talk for a moment about eukaryotic life sharing a common ancestor. Sure. There is no violation of that. There is no line to draw. So you can take that back as far as you want, and because we see a convergence in shared traits the further back you go in time, it's not that common ancestry is assumed, it's that that's what we see. This convergence occurs. So you can look at, you don't even have to look at phylogeny. You can take 8 organisms and look at the suites of characteristics that they have, and look at their genomes and walk backwards in time using molecular clocks and things of that nature. And eventually you will find a period of time where all of these organisms had a common ancestor, because that's how heredity works. So if Standing for Truth wants to say that that's assumed, what he first has to do is show that heredity can be violated, that DNA as the currency of heredity can be violated. And what I mean when I say that is that there is a line that can't cross. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm not being clear.
Right. So you're basically saying that the only reason this, or if evolution were true, which of course it is, but like if saying for a moment evolution were true, these phylogenetic models should congrue with each other, and they should work basically. And since they do, evolution seems the most likely explanation. Is kind of what you're saying, that it's not assumed a priori. It's just where it's the pattern we see basically. There's no other reason to expect that pattern, is what you're saying.
Erica, do you mind if I clarify a little bit of that for you?
Yeah, you can jump in by all means.
All right, yeah, that is a part of what she was saying. Yes, but also the fact that there is a difference. There is a difference in genetics, in the fact that genetics has been found to be extremely consistent. As a matter of fact, while there was almost 100% correspondence when they started when they started using genetics to figure out how things are related to what and how it all ties together, there was almost 100% correspondence with the taxonomic trees that were made through morphology and such.
Right.
But there were some slight differences, and those rare differences, invariably they end up going with the genetics, because like she said, that is the currency of inheritance. If you've got the genetics, that's the thing to go by to decide what's related to what. The same as like in a court of law, they might use a paternity test to decide who's the father of a child and who isn't. It's not 100%, but it's awfully close to it.
Think of it in the context of an analogy, right? It's like, so if you want to make a prediction about something, an object falling, right, you use gravity as a preemptive rule for governing how that thing is going to fall. The rate of the impact of gravity, whatever. Leo can crucify me on that if he wants, but that's not an assumption.
I wasn't paying attention. I was reading something. What?
Oh, it's okay. I was just making a crack about physics. Gravity isn't an assumption. It's a law. It's something that we observe. It's
theory.
Just a theory. Sorry, yeah, it's a theory. It's something that we observe.
Scientific theory. Yeah.
Yeah, that acts to make that we use essentially to make accurate predictions, right? So it's an observation that informs a prediction, and if that prediction is then accurate, not only is that prediction validated, but so is the premise that that prediction was based on, right? So the same thing is true with how heredity works. So DNA is heritable. That's the premise. That's the theory. I don't remember the exact theory in genetics what it's called, but the idea that genes are inherited. Yeah, so that's the premise. So you can use that to make predictions, i.e. how organisms are related, right? And if that prediction is then accurate, that is to say, what is the statistical significance of the analysis that we run, then not only does that validate the prediction that, say, birds and crocodiles are more closely related than birds and mammals, a given mammal, then that also serves to further validate the premise that prediction was based on.
Right.
But like Jack said, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Not just for a whole species either. You can also trace individual genes or individual sections of the genome that way. For example, I forget which order they were in. It seems to me the red one that came later, but the color pigments in our eyes, the cones in our eyes that detect color differences. One of the colors that humans can see it can actually be traced back to where it was a duplicate of one of the other ones that then mutated. So we ended up with two of the same one, and we didn't need two of the same one. So when one of them mutated, it eventually ended up giving us tricolor vision. And there are some humans, by the way, who are tetrachromats that they've got four cone colors. Plus, we have the rhodocin, which is more of a broad spectrum. So technically, it's kind of another color.
Yeah, tetrachromats can actually see a greater variance in color.
I just want to ask Speed a question apropos of nothing. Why did you give Otangelo his goddamn wrench back? You're muted, Speed.
Because he could post papers.
By the way, related to that, Speed, did you get the one that posted on DNA damage?
It wasn't quite finished, Leo. Yeah, because here's the thing. It was giving me a headache listening to Doc and Erica and others in this room say so many smart things I know very little about, and them trying to read of nonsense in the chat. It was like,
okay, so you want to kick him?
Can I dunk on Otangelo for a second? Because I saw Otangelo do some uncool stuff the other day.
Okay, cool.
Sounds like fun.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna dunk on Otangelo, and then I got one more thing to say, Andrew, about phylogeny and relating that to an analogy of a designer. So I want to. So two things. One, dunking on Otangelo. You what?
Oh, I said after you talk about what you were gonna talk about related to my question, I will have to head out, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I'll be super quick then dunking on Otangelo. So Otangelo the other day, I saw that LPP was having a live show. So I dipped in for a second just to see, what was going on. And Andrew here was having a conversation with Otangelo in the side chat and frankly kind of roasting him. And then Otangelo just decided at some point during the conversation that he was upset at what Andrew was saying and then just deleted all his messages using mod powers.
I knew it.
Oh my God.
So, and I saw that happen live, and I thought, how incredibly rude, first of all. But second of all, Otangelo shows up here in the side chat, claiming to be like the last vanguard of truth and conversation and open disagreement. And then when he's challenged anywhere he has any kind of power, he decides to silence someone who's having a disagreement with him. Uncool.
I just took his mod powers away as a result of what you just said.
Uncool, Otangelo. And I think, and it was just the two of them in the chat. So I guess he thought no one actually saw, but I saw. And I almost sent Andrew an email and was like, listen, there was a witness to that tomfoolery going on, but you can't claim to want to have a conversation and then block someone because you don't like what they're saying.
Yeah, it's
uncool.
It's kind of like saying you're wrong because you're stupid. I mean, that's not having a conversation.
Not cool. Standing is back in the chat, shilling for a debate going on his channel. Cool, Standing. We love to see it. I'm actually just irritated with Standing in general right now. So
when are you not? When are you not irritated with him?
Every now and again, we'll have a decent conversation. I'll be like, that Standing guy, he's not so bad. He's got good taste in movies. And then he'll bolster some dumb bullshit that Ramat is saying. And I'll be like, oh, right. Like he's behaving like a grifter right now. Because I know Standing's smart enough to know that nonsense Ramat put up wasn't true. And when I say wasn't true, I mean, wasn't even an accurate representation of the literature, that we see. But also Standing doesn't even hold most of those positions. So, I'll dunk on him for a minute there too. But the last thing that I want to
say, Standing for Truth is here. He's trying to poach Donald for his channel so he can get him over there for a debate. And what that amounts to, Donald, is that he is going to preach, and he wants to do his preach, and he wants you as a prop. So have fun.
Yeah, well, as a matter of fact, when when I finally got the agreement from Kent Hovind's people for the upcoming debate.
Hold on, John.
Wait a minute,
Hold
I
on,
got
John.
because what's his name had to leave, and Erica had one more thing on the phylogeny she wanted to say.
I was just going to say
very sorry.
they sort
Erica,
of tried
can you
to
finish
push
your
his
thought?
channel. They wanted me to change channels, but yeah, it didn't happen.
Okay, let Andrew and Erica.
Okay, sorry. Last thing. So the main problem with this analogy, to me, making an analogy to like a common design, like it's okay, I guess, as an analogy, but any kind of empiricism falls apart if you're actually trying to push this common designer thing as any kind of model. Again, one, it doesn't take into account any kind of heritability whatsoever. It can't delineate any lines, and the worst part is those lines can't be delineated.
Anyway.
Oh, pardon me.
I said not trustworthy anyway. There can be heritability, but the designer has to choose to do that.
Well, and the problem with that is there isn't any kind of way to delineate where it stops and starts, right? So like saying that a car with slightly water-resistant tires, more water-resistant tires than normal, is related to a regular car is fine, but where does that stop in saying a regular car is related to an amphibious vehicle? Where does it stop? Where does the designer decide that these groups are separate versus there's a continuous line of design, or in the case of common ancestry, of heritability? It has absolutely no application. It makes absolutely no predictions. And that's the reason why intelligent design will never be considered something that can have a seat at the table with regular science. Not to mention the fact that it just is this separate ancestry concept is just statistically BTFO'd at every level. I mentioned the one with the primates, but they also did this with common ancestry just across the animal kingdom using members of all of the major kingdoms. I think they did it at the kingdom level.
Wait, Erica, I agree with you about the prediction stuff, but what were you saying earlier about there not being principled criteria?
Right. Thank you guys.
Can you elaborate on that point?
See you guys later.
Okay,
bye,
What were you saying about there not being principled criteria, Erica?
What, for a design?
These categories that you were... I didn't understand. I understood your latter point. I didn't understand the former point.
So essentially, I'm trying to remember what I said before.
Something about the distinction between like an amphibious vehicle versus a non-amphibious vehicle.
Yeah,
okay, you go ahead.
Yeah, so they'll talk about so Standing for Truth will look at something like Archaeopteryx, which is something that is a transitional species in the sense that it has a suite of characteristics that is intermediate between theropod dinosaurs and modern birds. So he'll look at something like that and say, no, what we're seeing isn't this slow change over time. Even though they're separated by large geologic periods as well, morphologic change over geologic time. He'll say it's analogous to how humans have cars being relative to the theropod dinosaurs, and then we have boats being analogous to modern birds, and then an amphibious vehicle is an in-between design. So it's actually transitional species are support for a common designer because we design things that are intermediate all the time. The problem is there isn't a way for people who are proponents of intelligent design to draw a line there. Where in between car, amphibious vehicle, and boat is the separation? If
they're not appealing to common ancestry or anything. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
right. I'm saying that they don't have any kind of empirical way to separate them.
But whereas the biologist just relies on lineage, right?
Well, a biologist would say that there's a gradient. There is no period where one thing is another thing. All common ancestry is a continued specification of an organism.
There is also the fact that we can currently watch things evolve. We can currently watch things speciate. It is well documented. These things currently happen, as opposed to if there was a designer who made all of us in a few groups and then maybe we micro evolved from there. They aren't doing it anymore apparently because we don't have one single example of that anywhere ever.
Well, yeah, he's right. It's the law of monophyly, and what a biologist would look at is in the context of the law of monophyly. So they would say that humans didn't become something that isn't an ape. We're still apes. We still belong to the family of hominids.
You go back to Archaea, it might not apply so much. Archaea isn't monophyletic, but we are.
bacteria becomes weird because of the horizontal gene transfer, but the essential idea is that you can think of common ancestry as organisms that are more broad, specifying through time. They gather more and more through a lineage suites of characteristics that separate them from others. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if if we had someone who was watching in 10 million years, you had subspecies with something that was much more widely used as things continue to specify.
But
Hey,
hold on, real quick. There's a question for Erica from the chat that I think is very interesting, and I'm just going to refer to this person as Mr. Hunt. I'm not going to say their full name.
Itchik.
Yeah. Gutsick, given when humans mated with Neanderthals, was there a hybrid offspring, or are we it?
Yes, I mean, you would get hybrid offspring in the sense that humans and Neanderthals could interbreed. Speciation is a messy topic just because it's arbitrary.
Yeah, we're hybrids of hybrids of hybrids.
Yes,
yeah, and there wasn't enough of it for it to take hold any more than 2 to 4%, I think, right?
Well, that's not exactly entirely true. Here's the thing: it would have taken hold like roughly 50%, but then it wouldn't have stayed that way. Then you get 25%, you get 12.5%. Yeah. So it and it could have gone the other way. It could have been the Neanderthals that ended up, being 90-something% of the genome in those descendants. But that's not the way that it went. It all depended on who the future ancestors are going to be.
No, that's sorry, Danny. Was that an okay answer? I know that was long-winded.
I think that so I'm trying to see if there's a problem here. I guess the point is that the way that they want to establish common design is some kind of hybridization of like 2 different categories, like land versus aquatic. We get amphibious, right? Now, in terms of how the biologists establish lineage, do they not use the same sort of criteria in the sense, like in terms of like similarity or analogous traits, in order to establish similarity? Is it much more than that?
So it used to be that way with morphology, but because genetics DNA is heritable, you can trace that back. So those shared characteristics are known to be acquired through inheritance or diverged through recombination or mutation and plus selection.
They've verified the morphological tree.
Well, I guess look, I have probably shared a lot of shared genes with my parents, right? I mean, I do, right? I do believe that. Now, how would you establish that outside of the fact that there are shared genes that I came from my parents?
Well, in the sense that it's kind of like in any time you're actually trying to have a conversation about what is true, what can be scientifically supported, right? You have to have a bunch of base principles that are your kind of premise, like your starting point. Like you can't do Newtonian physics without gravity. Gravity is something that we observe and measure. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, continue, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be your premise. And the analogous comparison that I'm trying to make in biology is that DNA is heritable. This is just something that is a fact of biology. And in eukaryotes, this heritability doesn't have a full stop point. You can trace it all the way back. This is how Ancestry.com does their thing, right? It's like, because we know that DNA is heritable, the principle of heredity dictates that organisms that have the most similarities in their genome, 2 organisms that are very, very similar, are going to be more closely related than 2 organisms that are very, very different, right? Or even slight differences. And that's how you can tell the difference between you and your parent versus you and your grandparent.
So I'm trying to understand the implications of rejecting such a principle, right? It doesn't seem like it's either going to, okay, you're just not talking about biology anymore, or there's going to be something incoherent, right?
No, correct. Their problem is they want to invoke an arbitrary line that doesn't exist in biology. So biology is in genetics. Sorry. So genetics is a total gradient. The way that genomes change, there isn't it. I'm sure you've probably seen that that example where it's like you have a color palette, like what you see in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so there isn't a point where red becomes blue, right? There isn't a specific point that you can really identify, but they want to invoke for the sake of common design these arbitrary lines that separate cats from dogs. But any line that you would apply to separate cats and dogs would be far too late to separate. Like it would be far too removed in the past to actually separate humans from chimps, for instance.
Yeah, they want to take the labels and draw lines between the labels, as opposed to where taxonomy is finding the connections between things and then trying to label them. That's why we have scientific names of things. By the way, if you were to cross a Ford Escort car with a Yamaha golf cart, what do you get? What do you call that hybrid? Is there a name for it? I don't know of a name for it. But I can tell you what we get, and I'm sure Erica can tell you as well. In fact, I'll let her answer this one. What do you get if you successfully cross a human being and a chimpanzee?
Yeah, you interestingly enough, you would probably get something that looked very similar to an Australopithecine.
Yeah, what label could you give it that already exists? Because there is an existing label for that already.
Yeah, Erica, I'm just trying to understand
it is a great ape. Am I wrong?
I do perceive an issue here. I think I'm in agreement with you. I'm just trying to characterize it appropriately. But if someone says that I'm rejecting this principle of inheritance in the sense that you could have or I don't know what the right terms are, but something like we could have extreme similarity. There could be extreme similarity between two different organisms, but there not be any kind of lineage connecting them.
So, it doesn't make any sense. Okay. You're rejecting a principle at an arbitrary point, right? Like this would be like saying, I accept that when you drop a ball from 8 feet in the air, gravity.
Yeah, but the assumption isn't the assumption. You use the word assumption, and that's a very tricky word, right? Presumably, you think you're justified in holding to such a principle, right?
What in the sense of infertility?
Well, that you see, they're going to say something like, well, there are cases in which there's a kind of similarity which would imply lineage, and there's cases in which there's not. There's no such implication, and that's just to deny the principle. Oh my God,
Danny, I got a question for you. If somebody had actually signed, if there was a signature on those traits, if you could identify them because there was a signature on them and say this trait is the same trait because the designer actually signed it, then you'd know that was the same trait being passed on, correct?
That's trivial.
Okay. But here's the thing: genetics does that. There is an actual sequence of DNA, and that sequence is passed on, and it is a very, very detailed, very specific sequence. And when tiny little changes in those sequences happen, we can still recognize that's the same sequence being passed on. It's just got to change here and there. Very small changes in comparison.
Did you understand what I said earlier?
Yeah. So you're correct in saying that. Such a your example of saying so creationists would say these two organisms are related, and we know they're related because of principles of heredity. They're very similar genetically, and we know that DNA is inherited, and if you go into their genomes, you can walk it backwards and find this sort of divergence point, but other than that, they're mostly very similar. And then for other two groups, they would say no, they're not. But they don't have a reason to posit that they wouldn't be. They don't have a reason to posit that suddenly genetics stops working the way genetics works there.
But so you didn't mean assumption.
I'm trying to interject real quick. I just want to let everybody know the chat's loving this conversation and keep it going. But we do have to end by 3:30 because by the bottom of the hour, because Speed has a premiere coming out at the bottom of the hour. So.
All right, I'll consider that.
Yeah, I have. Well, I got two questions too for Gutsick real quick, and then I'm gonna call it a day and head back to the chat. So, Danny, I know you got something to say. Maybe when you guys finish your next round of points there. I could get in my questions and a couple of quick observations, and then I'm good.
Yeah, I'll consider that. I'm going to try to end this as fast as I can.
We
Erica,
do have to wrap up soon, so.
Yeah, that's the third person that has told me this. But,
hey, Danny, we got to wrap up soon.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Erica, so the point is that you're saying that there's no reason to reject such a kind of principle, but is there a reason to assume it, I guess? And it's just, at that point, it's just no longer a kind of assumption, right?
Only in the sense that other principles in biology that we utilize to make accurate predictions about the world around us are constant in the same way. So the way that we assume, the reason that we assume, and like you said, it's a very loaded term, but the reason that it's assumed is because it keeps making accurate, testable predictions. To no violation that I know of.
I agreed with that on the outset.
It's more evidential than assumed.
I agree that their hypotheses don't generate the sorts of predictions that can disconfirm.
Well, what I'm saying is that's why it's assumed, is because it hasn't been violated. So in order in science, in order to say that something may not always be the case, you have to show that it can be violated. You have to show that it has been or even could be. But such is
wait, but it could be, right? I mean, like, I guess imagine. Let's just take an example of spontaneous generation, right? Where like some weird anomaly happened, where a tornado went through a junkyard and it assembled some kind of organism that has all the similar traits of, let's say that's a fly. It assembles a fly, and a fly that had a that had a common ancestor. Well, in this world had similar traits, right? It seems like, while that's extreme. Go ahead.
You would have to show a mechanism for that. So like a
tornado.
Right, but that's the thing. You would have to show that a tornado can do that. I can say that God maybe just designed them all that way. That's my mechanism. Okay. But that doesn't work because there's nothing empirical to support it. A tornado.
We're gonna have to talk about this later because I'm gonna have a mob. But I think there's something wrong here, but I'm not so sure.
If a tornado put together a fly out of cat cells, would it have fly DNA?
I'm saying it got it from some other materials other than basically non-life.
So your example,
my
Danny,
point is there's a genetic sequence that can be traced, not just the fact that there's DNA, not just the amount of DNA, not the number of chromosomes.
Like, you're not really engaging with what I'm saying.
Generic thing.
Actually, he is. He's providing a pretty succinct answer.
Very much so, I am.
I'm saying that the mechanism is a tornado. It produces a fly, and that's all you know.
In the same sense, though, Danny, in the same sense that I could say God commonly designed all these things. That doesn't work because it's not there's not an empirical stepwise series of mechanisms that you can use to actually generate that fly from a tornado. Like, you can say that's the mechanism, that's fine, but you have to show that it could be in the sense of empirical science.
Look, you're talking about possibility. So this is a problem in terms of I don't see why it's physically impossible, and I don't see
as the dunce in the room. Could I just ask real quick, what does it mean when somebody proposes that a tornado made a fly tell someone they're not addressing their point? My mind can't wrap my head.
He was asking for more stipulations in the hypothetical, but that's all I'm giving in the hypothetical.
No, I was not. I was telling you why
coming from a cat DNA, cat cells. What are you talking about?
I think
I was telling you why it doesn't work.
Yeah, I think we're arguing.
What's the contradiction?
I don't think we're using the same definitions because when I say. Well, I guess maybe this is on me because possible maybe wasn't the best word to use. Danny, the philosopher, he leaps on me for the use of the word possible. Let me change my wording then.
Leo seems to have something to add there.
Oh, go ahead, Leo.
So it seems to me that Danny is asking that there's nothing that in logic and at least to some degree in physics, which is how nature operates, that seems to indicate that a tornado assembling a fly can't happen. So why are people saying that it can't happen? Is that sort of what you're getting at, Danny?
Yeah, I will agree that it's highly improbable.
Okay,
right? Extremely, highly improbable. But the point is that you're talking about how is it that we could like falsify this kind of principle of this lineage principle, which actually I'm still a little unclear about. There's a conversation to be had about what that principle exactly entails with respect to genetics. I don't understand it. But the point is that if that, how do we know that? I mean, were you finishing something? You said you wanted to reword what you said.
Yeah, I was simply going to change my wording from impossible in sort of the phenomenal sense to something that, given the current understanding of how our world works, it's not something that has a path to completion.
Well, that's just going to say something like, given the conditions that wouldn't allow it, they wouldn't be allowed.
Well, it's saying we don't know if conditions
Except that we're in those conditions.
Wait. So, but don't you understand, Danny, that when you're talking about certain improbabilities, when something is a certain degree improbable, there's a distinction without a difference between that probability and zero.
I don't know if
this
I
comes back
accept
to what
that.
I was talking about
Let
earlier.
me think about it.
Eric,
there's limited time here, but Erica, I'm going to think about it a little bit more, and we should talk later.
That's
good. Yeah, sure. I'll try to come up with a better way to explain what I'm trying to say.
We might do a Saturday night at the Atheist tonight. You guys want to take it up there?
Yeah,
cool,
I want to talk about it. I do want to talk about
If I can clarify momentarily what I meant about the cat cells, is if you had a tornado construct something that was a fly in the physical sense, that it had an ectoskeleton, it had legs the shape of fly legs, it had eyes like fly eyes with all the multiple simple eyes in a compound eye, it had a brain arranged like a fly's brain consisting of nerve cells and so on. If those were not fly cells, it wouldn't have fly DNA, and it therefore would not genetically be a fly, regardless of the fact that it might structurally be
Erica,
a fly.
I'm going to lend you something that you should look up for our discussion that might help you. Look up Caterus paribus clauses or Caterus paribus laws. Those are the sorts of laws that, if biology were to talk about principles or regularity, they would utilize that concept. So look that up. That might help with your wording.
Hey, and real quick, so Eric, I know that Drace, is it, or Drain, or whatever? I can't read
Drace.
Yeah, he wanted to address you. So
yeah, and then we got to wrap up, guys.
Yeah.
I've got about 20 minutes left
Yeah,
to go with the mail. Okay, go ahead, Drace.
Yeah, I just had two quick questions. Yeah, I had some observations, but screw it, I'll save it for another time. I'll just ask my questions and then let that be that. So the first thing is that I asked you a while back about Standing's explanation for why we don't see more preserved DNA, soft tissue, etc. And in the case of humans, why? In the case of Homo, why don't we have, Heidelbergensis or Erectus? We only have Neanderthals and So the response that you gave was essentially that no, we don't. Well, I'm sorry. His counter argument is that we don't find them in the same areas, and therefore these other examples of Homo are not in an area that is conducive to being fossilized. And so I asked you about that, and you responded that this would apply to Erectus and others, but it wouldn't apply to dinosaurs. And I thought that was a good counterpoint. But then you brought up something about Heidelbergensis, and it seemed to me that you were suggesting that Heidelbergensis would be an example that is found in the same areas. And I was wondering if I was misinterpreting your response there about whether or not Heidelbergensis would fit in with the Neanderthals and Denisovans on Standing's account. And then the second question was, in a recent stream, you basically said that that the SFT brigade doesn't know the half of it about limestone, and you kind of hinted there that you had some additional details in terms of that argument, and I was just wondering whether or not you would elucidate that for the channel. So those are my two questions, and that's that.
Yeah. Okay. So for the first example, let me see if I'm understanding this correctly. So what I had said previously is that we should, if Standing's premise is correct, and that it is indeed the environments that these hominids hominins are living in, that's allowing for their DNA to preserve, that we should also see this in the case of Homo erectus and Homo heidelbergensis, but this is not what we see. Is that correct in what I said versus kind of what Stanning's argument was?
Yeah, he gives two separate arguments. One Dan addressed about permafrost, and then the other one I asked you about, and this is basically what it's getting at. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that is still indeed the case.
Yeah, so
we know that our Homo heidelbergensis and Homo erectus, and indeed, I think arguments have been made too that there is the potential that some individuals that would have been very similar to Homo habilis, Gautendensis, or rudolfensis, reaching these far north areas. It's certainly the case with heidelbergensis and with erectus, living in these similar environments, and yet, of course, we don't have their DNA, which is highly problematic for Stanning's point, because they are living in these same environments, and yet we aren't finding anything. We aren't finding anything in the way of recoverable DNA from them. The same is true, for instance, for Homo floresiensis, this dwarf-like hobbit-style hominin that lived over in the island of Flores. This is more bolstering the point of what we're dealing with is vast periods of time separating them rather than differences in environment. Because if all of these organisms kind of lived at the same period, we shouldn't see this bias occurring really at all, because like Dan said, it's this idea that the cold temperatures are actually what's causing this preservation is bunk in and of itself. But it's also violated with the trends of what we see in the hominins and where they live. We should have it for erectus. We should have it for heidelbergensis. And what it's looking like is that we may actually be able to recover some of this DNA from the likes of Homo floresiensis, which if we can, because it's living in a very tropical environment, I believe what they're trying to do is actually pull it from the molars of these hominins. Then what that shows us is that DNA can preserve in these warmer environments for hominins that lived somewhat recently. And then that begs the question, why don't we have DNA for all of the hominins? Does that make sense?
Can we take this up again tonight at 9? Could you stop in, Erica, and we could talk about phylogeny?
Yeah, totally. The last thing I wanted to say.
9 Central, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah, I can come tonight. For the limestone Dessel, I've actually got I'm in the process of editing a video about limestone, because limestone,
awesome.
Yeah, limestone in and of itself 100% precludes.
Did you see this?
Wait a minute, I want to hear the end of her sentence. It 100% precludes what?
Young Earth creationism, 100%.
Oh,
period. There is nothing. There is no way to get around the nature of limestone deposition with regard to a single year time period resulting in the likes of the Cliffs of Dover or the Red Wall limestone or aspects of Notch Peak. This stuff deposits incredibly slowly. And not only that, it takes forever to harden. So, and I'm going into the details of the numbers on that.
Well, not forever.
But we can talk a little bit more about
very long.
Yeah.
You are now the new king of pedantry, Doug.
Yeah, thank you for your.
I just don't want to talk after the stream.
Thank you for your answers to those questions.
The only reason I said that.
I'll definitely be looking at
not forever is because I know someone will coal mine or otherwise.
Yeah, I can, if you can come tonight, I can kind of give a little brief overview of what it's going to cover and some of the other more broad aspects of limestone being problematic without getting into the numbers, just conceptually why it's problematic. And it's not just limestone; it's a lot of different minerals. Which
I think I asked Erica a few streams ago. How much evidence is there, and how many fields of science is there evidence for the age of the universe? And I think she had said to me, all but one. And I think
I was going to say nearly all of them.
I think the one she said that there might be optics was the only thing.
And that's just because it doesn't say anything about it, right? I mean, I've actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Let me stop for a sec.
I was just going to say, I think there is in that as well.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Before we end, I had to make an admission to Speed. That was me that did that.
Did what?
Well, what Dave or somebody else was alluding to.
Oh, was it something where
I actually booted him, and then when he came back in a sock account, I booted the sock account too.
Oh, you did? Okay. I thought because I timed him out and I did it because of what Erica said. I just gave him a slap, so you booted him. Okay.
Yeah, because as you have the option of you can go back in there. You did it the last time. You can bring him back in if you want, but I would say, why give him a wrench again? Because none of the papers that he ever fucking posts anyway are irrelevant at all.
Okay, so can I chime in here because my thing I wanted to speed for like 25 minutes. Related to that, and it's not. It's quick.
Can I say?
Did you get the paper?
Leo,
did you get the paper? What?
Hold up. I'm sorry, Leo. I just wanted to say because I'm really sorry because I know you're ready to go at your point. I just wanted to say goodbye. I'm gonna head back to the chat.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So present your point, and then I'll say my goodbyes.
So, Speed, did you get the paper that he linked on DNA damage by light?
Yeah, it was fucking bullshit. It was just
That's all I want. That's all I wanted to ask.
Yeah. And I posted those all papers in the description, so everything's there. We got to wrap, guys.
And that's what got me on his ass here earlier, because the one comment I saw, he was trying to make the claim that all plants should actually have died or something if the sun was actually.
Oh yeah.
Like what?
I've heard that one before. One more thing, real quick, guys.
Okay, Erica.
Yeah.
Plants reflect so much light, so they don't.
Who is going? I don't know.
Erica.
I'm gonna go. So Lena Powell in the side chat was talking about racinization dating earlier, and I would love to take a moment tonight to dunk on racinization dating as well, because Lena, I'm really, I'm really wanting to lay this out to why racinization dating doesn't work if you're trying to use it to support young earth creationism, but it's also just a bogus method for dating things.
Or anything. They abandoned it in 2008.
I don't think I know what that is.
Yeah. We'll chat about it. It'll be good.
I might have to see it in text to recognize it if I've ever even heard it.
I have to ask.
I think that Steve wants to end this. He has a premiere starting in 10 minutes. He's an old man. Right. He probably has to piss like a racehorse. So
I have to go get the fucking mail.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna end, and he says 9 o'clock.
I wanted to ask.
Shut the fuck up.
No, so why don't you shut the fuck up? Because
John, I'm not telling you. I'm telling everybody to shut up because everyone's talking over you. Relax.
Yeah. Okay. But I thought that what you were saying would shut the fuck up.
No, go on.
All right. So at any rate, I'm going to throw it over to Speed now, and he's going to be the only one that's going to talk until this is over. So go ahead, Speed.
Okay, we're going to end the broadcast. And but first of all, Drace, you wanted to say just one thing for 10 seconds. Go ahead, Drace. Drace?
Yeah, I just because you guys are mentioning a stream tonight, and that my final question was what stream, what channel. That's all I really needed, and I wanted to apologize to like a droll sound in my voice because I've just been up for a really long time, so I'm kind of out of it. But go ahead.
Get some sleep. 9 p.m. tonight on this channel, Saturday Night at the Atheist, and we are ending the broadcast right now. And I'm going to get the
what time zone? 9 p.m. What time zone?
Central time.
Central. Thank you.
Okay, ending broadcast, guys.